Hello and welcome to Undead Gaming News, your one-stop shop for all things gaming. I'm your host Zombie, and first up this week, the developers of the Nintendo emulator known as Dolphin have recently announced that they're no longer bringing the emulator to Steam. They announced its move to Steam back in March. However, Nintendo's legal team have sent Valve a preemptive request to remove the emulator from its storefront. As an emulator, Dolphin allowed users to run GameCube and Wii games, without owning the required console, of course. The software is still available for download on their website, but its Steam release was indefinitely postponed, due to Nintendo's actions. While Nintendo alleged Dolphin unlawfully circumvents a technological measure that effectively controls access to a work protected under the Copyright Act, a spokesperson for Nintendo said that the company is committed to protecting the hard work, creativity, video game engineers, and developers. This emulator illegally circumvents Nintendo's protection measures and runs illegal copies of games. Using illegal emulators or illegal copies of games harms development and ultimately stifles innovation. Nintendo respects the intellectual property rights of other companies, and in turn, others to do the same. Despite what Nintendo's representative says, emulation in itself is completely legal. However, the issue of ROMs is murkier, as emulation software can be used to run pirated game ROMs, which is obviously illegal. But as Dolphin's Steam page stated before its removal, users must own an original copy of any game that they want to use with Dolphin, which of course means that it's another attempt by Nintendo to vilify legit emulation because they only want you to play their games on their consoles. But in other news, Tony Williams, Konami's head of communications for the Americas, has confirmed that Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake will use the original game's voice lines, without any changes whatsoever. This decision could be due to the fact that several members of the original game's Japanese voice cast have died between that game's release and now, which would have obviously given Konami the undesirable job of locating suitable replacements, so it's understandable that the company has chosen that path instead. I'd also imagine that for fans who don't really trust Konami to handle MGS without Kojima's involvement, its lack of creative input on the remake's voice cast will also come as good news. But over on CD Projekt's side of things, they've announced that The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt has now reached 50 million copies sold worldwide. This was revealed during the company's recent Q1 2023 earnings call, led by CEO and President Adam Kaczynski, where he said, "I'm very proud to say that The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt has hit 50 million copies sold." This, according to public data, ranks The Witcher 3 among the 10 best-selling video games of all time. The Witcher 3 now sits ahead of Pokemon Yellow, Blue and Red, which have sold 47 million copies combined. And for added context, Red Dead Redemption 2 and Mario Kart 8 both sold 53 million copies each. And along with this news, it was also revealed that the Witcher trilogy itself has reached 75 million units sold combined across all three entries. The series started on PC with its first entry in 2007, while The Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings came to PC, as well as the Xbox 360 in 2012, with The Witcher 3 then launching for PS4, Xbox One and PC in 2015 before eventually coming to the Nintendo Switch and more recently the PS5 and Xbox Series S and X. It experienced a renewed popularity following the premiere of Netflix's series based around The Witcher, but during this earnings call, Adam Kaczynski also dismissed claims that CD Projekt will be acquired by Sony, responding to rumours that a Destiny leaker had shared online. He said, "Nothing has changed on our end, so I can repeat what we've been saying throughout the years. CD Projekt is not for sale. We want to remain independent. We have, I believe, an excellent strategy. Not easy to execute for sure, but it's very exciting to follow our own path, so it's a pure rumour." In other news though, we have Overwatch 2, which will be celebrating Pride Month this year for the first time, with an in-game event, which started on June the 1st. Every Overwatch 2 player will receive a free collection of 15 Pride flag icons and 24 name cards to use on their account profiles. Much like other Overwatch events, Pride will come with an alternate version of the Midtown New York map, set just after a parade with flags and confetti lining the streets. In a blog post about the Pride event, Blizzard says that they've realised how much more that they can do in exploring their character identities and relationships, saying, "This is just the beginning of Pride in Overwatch 2. Over the coming seasons and years, we'll have more to share as the deeper lore of the Overwatch universe unfolds." Also in the news is the Lord of the Rings Gollum, as it launched to negative reviews, with people sharing that the game is quite buggy and isn't a lot of fun. The developer Daedalic Entertainment has taken to Twitter to apologise for the game, claiming that those at the studio deeply regret that the game did not meet the expectations that they set for themselves or for their dedicated community. Daedalic Entertainment has committed to improving the game, and has thanked players for their criticism, saying, "We understand that a game's success relies on the enjoyment and satisfaction of its players. We genuinely value your feedback and have been actively listening to your voices, reading your comments, and analysing the constructive criticism and suggestions you've provided. Our development team has been working diligently to address the bugs and technical issues many of you experienced. We are committed to providing you with patches that allow you to enjoy the game to its fullest potential. Once again, we deeply apologise for any inconvenience caused, and we appreciate your understanding during this time. We will continue to keep you updated on our progress and provide transparent communication regarding the upcoming patches and improvements. Your passion and dedication as players have been the driving force behind our determination to make things right. The apology itself also contained a mistake in the form of a typo, calling the game The Lord of the Ring Gollum. This apology is yet another in what appears to be a growing trend in gaming, where a team release a broken game, wait a few days and then apologise for it, with a promise to fix it. Particularly this year we've had Forspoken, Star Wars Jedi Survivor Redfall, and now The Lord of the Rings Gollum. This is most likely due to strict deadlines for release, but the easiest way to end the trend and prevent it from happening in the future is simply to not pre-order games or buy them when they're actually playable. Always vote with your wallet. However, in other news, Meta has announced over 15 new titles for the Quest VR headset at the Meta Quest Gaming Showcase. The games include Stranger Things VR, a new version of NFL Pro Era, Assassin's Creed Nexus VR, and Ghostbusters Rise of the Ghost Lord. The company is partnering with multiple game studios to bring different kinds of games to the Quest platform, including a VR take on Sega's classic 1999 arcade game Samba de Amigo, which is releasing soon. Vampire the Masquerade Justice is also on the way, along with many more. Also in the news, developer Ghost Ship Games unveiled the new Decontaminator Pack cosmetic DLC, and it received some negative feedback, so the developers have decided to change it. As they said, frameworks and armors are peculiar entities, and what might look super cool to some might read as boring to others, and especially in the case of DLC packs, we are learning that more bling tends to be received better. You're putting down good money for these items, and you want them to stand out. We hear you. So in order to make this DLC worth adding to your collection, we decided to tweak the weapon framework and update the paint job. We focused on making the guns stand out a lot more with some brand new attachments, adding vials and digital displays to lean more into the Decontaminator theme. Those who liked the original designs aren't being left out though, as they said it will be added to the next Deep Rock Galactic Performance Pass, meaning that players will be able to unlock it through gameplay. The community response to the updated DLC plan has been a lot more positive, even with people who thought the original DLC was fine. The Deep Rock Galactic Decontaminator Pack is set to go live on June the 15th. Also in the news we have the developers behind 6 Days in Fallujah announcing that its early access period will start on June the 22nd on Steam. If you've never heard of the game before, it was met with huge controversy back in 2009, as the game's plot was based around the true events of the Second Battle of Fallujah. The game follows a squad of US Marines from the 3rd Battalion 1st Marines fighting in the Second Battle of Fallujah over the span of 6 days in November 2004. 6 Days in Fallujah was originally going to be published by Konami, however in April of 2009, a spokesperson informed the Associated Press that Konami was no longer publishing the game due to the controversy. The game was then cancelled due to that controversy and was put on hold until 2016, after its original studio, Atomic Games, went bankrupt in 2011. The revival of the game was announced back in February of 2021. The game was announced to be in development by Highwire Games. 6 Days in Fallujah enters early access on Steam on June the 22nd and is expected to be fully released on Microsoft Windows PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series S and X sometime this year. Our next story comes from Rayark, who are the developers of multiple rhythm action games, as they are facing allegations that some of the company's artists have been laid off and replaced with machine-generated imagery. The controversy began when Korean players began noticing some odd stuff with some of the game's newer art. In one of the cases, a character had 6 fingers in one hand, while in other pictures characters' clothing and hair appear to clip and end in strange places, both of which are telltale signs that an image has been computer-generated. In response to these allegations, Rayark has issued a statement denying the layoffs, and they also said reports that they're using machine-generated imagery in their games is entirely false, but then spend much of their statement talking about how they're conducting extensive research into the technology, and have even recruited more members with AI expertise to improve their development process and provide education and training regarding AI assistance. They then ended their statement by saying that Rayark remains dedicated to our player base and the creation of high-quality IPs. We deeply appreciate the continuous support and open discussions of the community. As we continue on this path in the gaming industry, we will continue to do our best exploring the limits of our creativity. And with the amount of research that they're putting into AI, and especially hiring experts on the subject, it certainly seems like they're going to move more in that direction anyway. Otherwise, why would you hire people that are specialists in that subject? However, in other news, Riot Games have delayed the start of the League Championship Series summer season by 2 weeks in order to enable negotiation with the LCS Players Association over recent rule changes. But it's also threatened to cancel the entire season completely if an agreement can't be reached within that timeframe. The unrest began last month after Riot announced rule changes that resulted in most teams in the LCS dropping their lower tier North American Challenger League rosters, putting as many as 70 players, coaches and managers out of work. In response, the Players Association voted overwhelmingly in favour of a walkout, although not immediately. Instead, it expressed hope that Riot would avert the strike by joining them in the coming days to have an open and transparent discussion. Riot has agreed to an extent after announcing a plan to start LCS on schedule even in the event of a strike. They have now opted to delay the start of the season by 2 weeks, and in the most recent update, Riot said, "Hopefully this 2-week window will give us the time for productive dialogue between the LCSPA teams and the league, and then resume LCS competition this summer." The LCS will not be penalising the teams for not fielding their rosters during this 2-week period, to allow everyone space to focus on constructive dialogue. "We are doing our best to ensure LCS employees, contractors and others supporting the LCS are not negatively impacted by the delay." But Riot has also made it very clear that if an agreement isn't reached within that 2-week period, they're prepared to cancel the summer season entirely, and if the summer season is cancelled, all LCS teams will be eliminated from qualifying from the 2023 Worlds, which is ultimately the big show for League of Legends pros, and one of the biggest esports tournaments in the world, with the 2022 Worlds prize pool worth more than $2.2 million. At the same time, Riot categorically rejected requests made by the Legends Championship Series Players Association regarding the future of the North American Challengers League, including the implementation of Valorant-style relegation between the LCS and the NACL, guaranteed LCS contracts for NACL winners, slot ownership rules, and a revenue pool for NACL player salaries. Riot appears to have left very little room to negotiate a new deal, and yet without one, players and teams are turning their back on significant amounts of money, and potentially even putting their competitive futures at risk. Riot has less to lose because the LCS is just one of half a dozen top-tier League of Legends leagues worldwide. As for our final story, it's a bit of a weird one. McDonald's have decided to make a games console. The fast food giant has entered the gaming space with a brand new Tetris-themed handheld. It's shaped like a nugget, in celebration of 40 years of the chicken nugget, and weirdly enough, it's not actually the first time we've seen a fast food giant enter the gaming space, as back in 2020, KFC released a gaming PC that contained a compartment to keep your chicken warm. Obviously, McDonald's handheld is more of a novelty item, and maybe a collector's item many years down the line. It does only play the one game, which is Tetris. But that's all we have time for this week. If you have any thoughts on anything discussed this week, please leave in the comment section below as always, and I will see you next week. Goodbye.